There comes a time in every person's life when the noise becomes too loud, when the chaos becomes too heavy, and when pretending to be strong becomes more exhausting than facing the truth. And in that quiet, fragile moment, you begin searching for something deeper than happiness, deeper than success, deeper than approval. You begin searching for peace, not the kind of peace that disappears when life becomes difficult, not the kind you borrow from distractions or temporary escapes, but the kind of peace that lives inside your bones, the kind that stays even when the world shifts around you. Real happiness, real growth, real fulfillment, all of it begins the moment you stop chasing what the world told you to desire and start listening to what your soul has quietly been asking for all along. Peace begins when you let go of the things and people that keep you trapped in cycles you've outgrown. You start to understand that love is not supposed to confuse you, that relationships should not exhaust you, and that the things meant for you will not require you to sacrifice your mental health. You begin to realize that not everyone you care about is good for your spirit. Not every environment is meant for your growth, and not every connection is aligned with your future. The life you truly want is waiting for you, but it requires letting go of the people and places you once thought you couldn't live without. Letting go is not weakness. It is making space for everything your heart deserves. You spent years being strong for people who never noticed the weight on your shoulders. You've given love to those who didn't know how to hold it. You've forgiven things that broke you. You've stayed in places where your spirit felt unwelcomed because you were afraid of loss. You learned to swallow your voice just to keep the peace. But that wasn't peace. That was survival. And you were not born to survive your life. You were born to live it. You were born to grow, to heal, to evolve, to expand, and to experience a joy that does not ask you to shrink. True peace begins when you stop apologizing for feeling deeply. You start to understand that your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a gift. Your empathy is not a flaw. It is your superpower. You were never too much. You were simply surrounded by people who offered too little. And when you step into environments that match your heart, everything inside you shifts. Your breath softens. Your mind quiets. Your body relaxes. That is peace. That is alignment. That is coming home to yourself. Growth is not beautiful at first. Growth feels like breaking before it feels like becoming. Growth pulls you away from what you once knew so it can guide you toward what you never imagined. Some days you will feel unstoppable. Other days you will question everything. Some days you'll feel healed. Other days the past will knock on the door of your memory. That does not mean you're failing. It means you're human. You are healing layer by layer. You are learning to live without the weight that once controlled you. You are evolving into a version of yourself you have not fully met yet. Dinant, there comes a moment in healing when you stop running, not from people, but from yourself, from your emotions, from your pain, from your patterns. You begin to understand that what you avoid controls you, and what you face frees you. You stop numbing your sadness. You stop pretending you're fine. You stop burying your truth beneath busyness or people or noise. You turn inward, to the wounds you've ignored, to the dreams you've abandoned, to the fears you've silenced. And in facing yourself, you discover a strength you never knew you had. You discover wisdom in your scars, clarity in your solitude, and courage in your vulnerability. Peace grows when you stop trying to control everything. You stop trying to force people to love you the way you love them. You stop trying to cling to outcomes that are hurting you. You stop trying to make chaos feel like home. You begin to trust life, not because everything makes sense, but because holding on hurts more than letting go. You begin to let things be. You begin to let people be. You begin to let yourself be. And in that surrender, peace finds you. Growth reveals truth about who you are, truth about who others are, truth about the relationships you once romanticized, truth about the patterns you repeated because your heart was still bleeding from old wounds. Growth shows you what you were blind to before, not to shame you, but to free you. And the moment you accept that truth, the chains fall. You no longer settle for half love. You no longer beg for attention. You no longer tolerate disrespect disguised as not meaning it. You no longer wait for someone to treat you the way you always treated them. You finally walk away from the tables where love, effort, and respect were never being served. Happiness begins when you stop expecting yourself from other people. Not everyone has your heart. Not everyone has your honesty. Not everyone has your loyalty. Not everyone has your emotional depth. And that's okay. The pain came from believing they did. When you accept people for who they are, not who you hope they'd become, you free yourself from disappointment. You begin to detach with grace rather than resentment. You begin to love people without losing yourself. You begin to understand that what someone cannot give has nothing to do with your worth. Life will test you. It will strip you. It will break you open, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you. Not to punish you, but to activate you. Nothing you have gone through is wasted. Every heartbreak shaped you. Every setback strengthened you. Every betrayal awakened you. Every loss taught you who you are not so you could discover who you are. Your pain did not come to stay. It came to elevate you. And now as you walk into the next chapter of your life, you carry wisdom where wounds once lived, strength where fear once sat, and clarity where confusion once shouted. You begin to realize that you do not need to announce your growth. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to convince anyone of your intentions. Your energy speaks louder than words. Your peace becomes your presence. Your boundaries become your protection. Your healing becomes your glow. And people will notice the shift even before you speak. You no longer chase. You attract. You no longer beg. You choose. You no longer fear endings. You trust beginnings. You no longer attach your happiness to people. You anchor it in yourself. There is a moment, quiet, soft, unmistakable, where you wake up and realize that you no longer crave the things you once thought you needed. You no longer desire the chaos that once felt like comfort. You no longer miss the people you once cried over. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself. You no longer measure your worth by how much you give. You stop seeking validation. You stop ignoring your intuition. You stop abandoning yourself. You begin to value the peace that comes from being understood by your own soul. And then something extraordinary happens. You begin to rise, not loudly, not dramatically, but naturally. You rise into a calmer version of yourself. You rise into a wiser version of yourself. You rise into the life you were meant to live, not the one you settled for out of fear. You rise by choosing yourself. You rise by choosing peace. You rise by choosing truth. You rise by choosing freedom. And in that rising, everything around you changes. The way you speak, the way you think, the way you love, the way you move, the way you protect your spirit. You become someone new, someone unshakable, someone intentional, someone worthy, someone whole. Your life will never be the same again. Not because everything around you changes, but because everything within you has. You are no longer the version of yourself who tolerated chaos just to feel loved. You are no longer the version who ignored the red flags because you feared loneliness. You are no longer the version who settled for less than what your soul was created for. You have stepped into a new chapter, a new identity, a new peace, a new strength, a new destiny. And from this moment on, you walk differently. You breathe differently. You think differently. You love differently. You live differently. And once you live from this place of truth, your life will never be the same again.